Hey guys, my name is Jessica and I am the face behind the Gift of Gap. Now, you may not know this about me, or you might, but I am obsessed with all things social communication and pragmatic language and social skills and anything that falls under that umbrella. Anyways, I'm obsessed with learning about it. I love teaching it. That's my favorite thing to teach. And I want to teach you how to teach these skills as well and how to love teaching these skills. So today we are going to be talking about how to teach how to make a friend. Tell me if you've ever had this conversation with a student. Nobody likes me. I don't have any friends. I don't know how to make friends. Did it break your heart? Did it make you feel absolutely awful? Because that's what's happened to me. I mean, it just broke my heart. And it is my job as a speech pathologist to help these students learn how to make friends. So I think that most of us, we just kind of make friends naturally. We don't really think about how to make friends. Okay, so the other day I was having a conversation with my best friend, and we were talking about her son, and he was having a hard time. He's in middle school. He was having a hard time finding a group of friends to fit in with. And I asked her, well, have you taught him how to make friends? And she's like, no, it's just something that just happens. So that got me thinking, is making friends something that just happens naturally? Or is there a strategic process that you can use to help you make friends? So I did a little bit of research, and it turns out that there are some steps that you can follow to help you learn how to make a friend. And these are the same steps that people who naturally make friends are following, even though they don't realize that that's what they're doing. So I have broken these down into 8 steps. They are strategic and they are scaffolded in order from easiest to hardest. And my thought process is, if we teach our students with social communication and pragmatic language deficits to use and apply these skills while they're making friends, surely we're giving them a better shot at mastering this skill than if they were just going into it blindly. So, what are these 8 steps? Are you dying to know? Let's start at the beginning and we'll just work our way up. Step 1, what do you think it is? Smile and say hello, right? We're never going to make a friend if we don't smile and say that very first word, hello. So when I'm teaching my students this, we talk about how we need to learn to do this because it shows people that we're friendly and it shows them that we want to be their friend. So I will explain this to them. We'll talk about it, and then we're going to walk around our building or wherever we are, and we're going to practice smiling and saying hello. It's really basic. It's the most foundational step. But if you think about it, you cannot master friendship skills if people don't think you're friendly. I take that back. You can, but it's going to be really hard because we also talk about first impressions in that session. And we talk about how people make up their mind about you in like a split second. So if your first impression is not great, you're going to be working real hard to fix that. Okay. Step 2, when you're teaching how to be a friend or how to make a friend, is be polite. Makes me cringe every time because our sweet little babies probably don't realize that the things that they're doing are coming across as rude. And I mean, they're not meaning to do it. And it's going to take probably, honestly, months and years of you very gently teaching and guiding and pointing out, hey, that was kind of rude, or hey, so-and-so might think that was rude. I know you didn't mean to be rude, but we need to make sure that we're not just walking away when we finish a conversation, or we need to make sure that, we're trying to look at people when they're talking. So that's a big, broad thing, and it's going to be really hard for you just to teach. So what I do is I teach the vocabulary word polite. And we just talk about things that are polite and things that are rude. I specifically talk about, things with that student that I have seen them do that, again, probably not intentionally being rude, but somebody else might perceive it as that. So we talk about that and how, again, that first impression, if people think we're rude, if people think we're mean, even if we're not, if people think that, it's going to make it a lot harder to make a friend, and it's going to be a lot harder to change their mind. So we need to start off from the very beginning trying to be really polite to all of the people that we're meeting. Okay, so the foundational steps are out of the way. We've talked about smiling and saying hello, and we've talked about being polite. Step 3 is finding common interests. So you meet a new person and you start talking to them, and the people that you're friends with are the people that you have the most in common with. Think about your own life. Who are your friends? Well, for me, my friends are moms, particularly moms who stay home with their kids, moms of young children, or I also am friends with teachers. I click really good if I'm at a new place and I find a teacher, we're buddies, right? That teacher bond is really strong. And so, or I am friends with people who are speech pathologists or special education teachers. We click with the people we have the most in common with. So that's going to be the first thing that our students need to learn how to do, is find common interests with a peer, and that's going to be their starting point. So to do this, your students need to know what their own common interests are. That would be a lesson that I would have with my students, is helping them list out all of their interests, and then they know that when they are meeting a new person to kind of ask questions around those topics and those interests to see if their new person they're meeting is a good fit for a friend. Okay, now step 4 is really tricky for all of us. It is listening and asking questions. So again, think back to yourself, think back to your personal life. When you are talking to somebody, are you sitting back, listening, and truly absorbing what the other person says and asking questions interestedly and eagerly? Or are you the person who keeps finding a way to relate the conversation back to you so that you can talk about you and the things that you want to talk about? Probably you do a little bit of both. Most of us probably lean toward talking about ourselves and drawing the conversation back to us. But this isn't how we're going to make a friend, because we all want to talk about ourselves. We need to let our new friend talk about themselves. So our little students with the social deficits really have a tendency to monopolize conversations. You know this, I know this. It's very common. So we need to be teaching them the importance of asking questions and truly listening to what the other person is saying. Okay, on to step 5, spending time together. That is the next step, spend time together. We have talked about smiling and saying hello. We've talked about being polite. We've talked about asking questions, and we've talked about listening intently. Now we're on to spending time together. See how we're just moving right on up the ladder. Now, spending time together is difficult for some of our people, and that's okay. Let's just start by saying this is the time when true friendships are made. And think about it. Your good friends are the people that you spend the most time with. They're the people that we enjoy being around, and we're going to make time to be with them. If you don't spend time with someone, you're not going to become a good friend with them. So if you want to make a friend, you need to intentionally spend time with other people, particularly the person you want to be a friend with. The more time you spend together with them, the better friends you're going to be. Think about when you were a kid at summer camp and you get there that first day and maybe you didn't know anybody in your cabin, and you feel a little isolated. But then as the week goes on and you're doing everything all day, every day, and sleeping together, by the end of the week, y'all are like this, man. Y'all are best buds, okay? It's because you spent time together. So that's how we're really going to make a friend, is by spending time together. So this can be tricky because not all of our students can spend time with their friends or their desired friends outside of school. So you do need to keep that in mind when you're teaching this. Some parents don't want their kids going over to other kids' houses, and that's fine. I am actually recording this during the coronavirus pandemic, and we really don't want our kids going over to people's houses, and that's fine. We still need to be talking about ways that we can spend time with our friends. So if you're talking about this with a kid at school or a student at school, then think about ways that they could be spending time at school together. You can choose to sit by them in lunch, maybe. You can choose to play with them at recess. Maybe, you can do some center work together. Whatever it is in your school, in your student's class, it's going to be different. But help them brainstorm ways that they can, spend time with their friends at school. Now, if they are, you can think of things to do outside of school. That's fine too. Go to the movies, go to the park, whatever. Like I said, since we're in the middle of coronavirus right now, really what you could do is, if they're old enough to do texting or Zoom or FaceTime, you could try to encourage them to do that. It's really, really hard right now to work on that. So that's kind of would just be my recommendation as a starting place, and tell them, they can practice on their siblings and their family members, some of their friendship making skills as well. As we spend time together, we will inevitably have some disagreements. So step 6 for how to make a friend is resolving disagreements. How do we do this? Well, sometimes our little friends don't realize that they're having a disagreement. So we do need to bring their awareness to the fact of, what's going on. And then we need to teach them how to either agree to disagree respectfully, or we also need to teach them how to make an apology. So I want my students to understand that this step is important, because if they upset their friends that they have been working so hard to make, those people won't want to be their friends. You don't want to be with people who are, uncompromising. And that's what we need to teach our students. We need to teach them how to compromise, and we need to teach them, if we can't find a compromise, how to disagree respectfully. Now, step 7 leads right into this, and that is apologizing for hurt feelings. If we have hurt somebody's feelings, whether it's on accident, whether it's on purpose, whatever it is, we still need to apologize, especially, if it was on purpose, but even when it's on accident. So how do we make a good apology? Well, we tell the student that they need to go up to their friend, make sure they're looking at them, say their friend's name, apologize for exactly what they did, and then make a plan so that it doesn't happen again. So 5 steps. So for example, you would walk up to me and you would say, Mrs. DeVault, I am sorry for stepping on your foot. I know that it hurt. Next time, I will watch where I am going so it doesn't happen again. You see what I did? I used my name. I would have been looking at me if I could. I said what I was sorry for, why I was sorry, and I made a plan so it didn't happen again. Okay, we're moving right along, and now we're at step 8. So the last true step to teaching how to make a friend is being patient and keep trying. And the reason I included this is because it can be so discouraging for our little friends to just keep putting themselves out there over and over and over again, and they just feel rejected and defeated. And y'all, there is a friend for everyone. There can be, but we have to be patient and keep trying. And we have to find just that right fit, that right person that's going to click with us. So that's what I keep reminding my little friends in this last step is, you're doing a great job, baby. Just keep trying, keep practicing, and you will make a friend. So one of the activities that I do to teach this is I will give them some scenarios. Say, for example, okay, you wanted to sit by little Johnny in the cafeteria. Johnny told you that seat's saved. He's got somebody else sitting there. What could you do? And we problem solve through some of these scenarios, and I try to pick like really specific incidences that I have seen happen before that are really crushing to kids, so that we can talk about them. Let's not ignore them, guys. Kids can be mean. So let's give our students, a way to handle that and work through that. Okay, now that we have worked through all of the steps on how to actually make a friend, we need to keep practicing them. So you can do this a couple of different ways. One of the things that I like to do is I have written up like a questionnaire sort of, and we talk about ways we used our strategy in the real world. So for example, I would say, hey, Johnny, tell me about the last time you tried to make a friend. Who did you try to make a friend with? What were you doing? What happened in this situation? Did you remember to smile and say hello? Do you think you were polite? Do you listen to the other person and let them talk? Did you find something that you both liked? What did you do really good? What can you do better next time? And we kind of problem solve and talk through it and reflect on what they did. The other things you can do is you can kind of, push in and follow your student around and see if these situations happen. You have to be really strategic about when you're going in. For example, like you would probably want to go at lunch or recess or some unstructured time, because obviously your student is not going to be trying to make friends in the middle of, say, a math lesson. So think about that before you go in. And then you can also, do some more structured practice things where you give them specific scenarios and you help them walk through them. Now, I know you're busy. I know this is a crazy time. So I have made this resource just the way I described it to you, and it is in my store on Teachers Pay Teachers. What it is I call it a social narrative activity packet, and I teach these 8 steps that I just outlined to you to my students using a social story. What's cool about this is when you use the social story, I have already thought through the words and simplified them and gotten right to the point, so that as you're teaching the social story, you can really focus on teaching and not just, trying to get the words just right in your head. So step 1 is we go through the social narrative. It's not a social story, social narrative. When we read it together, and there's like pictures for the kids to draw and discussion topics that you can talk about to kind of get their little brains tingling. Then there are companion activities for each step that we outlined in this little video. And these are really structured, practiced activities where students can practice each skill. They can practice apologizing, they can practice compromising, they can practice taking turns. So you have taught it and you give them structured practice just in this activity. Usually I do like 1 a week. So this will take me 8 to 10 weeks to get through the entire packet. It is structured, it is strategic, it is scaffolded. I have put a lot of thought into using this or into creating this, and I have used it personally. And this slow build really helps the students to comprehend what's being taught. The link is in my profile, so go ahead, check it out. It is also part of a bigger bundle that I am going to link as well. And this bigger bundle contains all of my teaching strategies. So I have a bunch in my store of teaching resources to help you teach social communication skills. So you can go and you can get the bundle and get this resource for 30% off and 30% off every other resource that's in it and save yourself a bunch of money. I like the sound of that. All right, I'll talk to you later.